Guys, so this one not as drastic as some of these jobs that we've been getting. This is a 2003 Ram 3500 single rear wheel. This one is in for a bunch of oil leaks, as you can see on the ground. Definitely have an oil pan leak. Might have a rear main leak. I haven't diagnosed that yet, but the main thing is we're pulling the case today, and we are also replacing the AC system. Customer has brought me an entire kit for the AC, other than the condenser, because this one was replaced. So we're going to reuse this condenser, but that means I get to take the condenser and the intercooler off at the same time. Camshaft's got to come out. We are going to be pulling the valve cover, all the push rods, everything. It's going to get a valve adjustment. This truck, for instance, also has a different turbo, performance turbo. I don't remember which one it was, but actually, you know what? We can just, there you go. What do you think of that? Different turbo, factory replacement turbo, and yeah, so I don't know what's going on right there, but don't know. Doesn't look like it's leaking, but we definitely have a bunch of oil leaks. So we got all the parts in, the front main with the wear sleeve and all that. That stuff won't be here until Monday. So this video is going to be multiple parts because you guys have said you want time lapses. I'm going to try to deliver the time lapses, and you guys can just watch me work and see how I do this and see what I do, and then I'll let you guys judge if we do quality work or not. But we got everything off the front end. These things are super easy. They're just like fucking puzzles. If you don't know them, obviously don't buy one of these, or I mean, if you want to save money and have money in your pocket, don't buy a Cummins. But this thing's getting resealed all over. Working on getting that all drained out. I'm going to pull the rad, but we're going to pull the rad separate from the fan shroud because the fan in the way and all this and that. So we're going to take, and this is just going to be placed out of the way. We're not going to mess with the trans cooler at all. At least we shouldn't have to. I did just put this back in place because whoever put these headlights in did not put this back where it goes, so I did that. Just not charging extra for it, just it bothers me that it's not in place. And then a couple little things, like there was some loose bolts here and there. Obviously I'm going to tighten that up when this thing goes back together. Rad cap off to make it easier for that to drain. Let me know what you guys think of the time lapses. I'm going to try to keep these short, sweet, to the point. I'll show you what we did. Time lapse over there. I'm going to keep like switching it around so it's not the boring same old shit. But obviously it'll be fast forwarded, but you can see like I've had a tripod forever now. I just have All right, so for those following along, if what you see me doing here is there's two of these in the top of the cow, all right? You want to pull them out if you're going to be pulling push rods. So they will then go up in and out the side. Now, I was going to try to see if I could get them out without pulling the valve cover, which would mean I have to take the injector harness. They're not clearing, so we are going to have to take the bottom valve cover off. Unfortunately, not really a big deal. Extra 2 minutes of my time. And then getting that back one in there, I kind of just try to get a screwdriver in there and try to pry it out and pull it down from the bottom. It's really hard when you have oil on your hands. So try to get all the oil off your hands first. I do wear gloves, so I just took them off and bam, hands are clean. But yeah, the other thing you need to know is you see these little nubs here on the end. I'm going to try to zoom in and we'll throw a light at it. So you see this little nub here on the end. This is the retaining clip right here. A lot of times what happens is this retaining clip will pull up or crack or whatnot. It's completely normal, and then this will fall out. Make sure that you have every single one of these. What happened was I went to pick one up and one dropped and fell down in here. Now obviously the push rod was still in there and everything, so it can't go down in the hole. Take a magnet, grab it, pick it back up, put it back in place. It's perfectly fine. But this is a common thing on these. Cummins uses plastic for some reason, and it's a junk design. I mean, it works, but at the same time, it's like you just need to watch that. Now, if this piece goes missing, that's when you have a problem. You need to replace it. But in this case, every single one of them came out perfectly fine. I also like to check and make sure that all of these bridges move freely and there's no resistance. So every one of these rocker bridges are good. If you guys know that when I did my truck, there was a little bit of crunchiness in mine. Something you definitely want to address, but in the meantime, everything else is coming out good. I just got to get the last 4. So we're going to pull this injector harness and bottom valve cover and everything we keep organized. So as it comes out and then as it goes back together, I can take the pieces one by one. While we wait for the rad to still continue draining and dripping its final amount, I figure I can get in here and pull all these push rods, and then we're going to use these dowels that I have over here that have been used a million times. We're going to clean them off first, obviously. But those are the dowels. You want to pick up on every one of them and pull the cam out. Now, I'm not probably going to get to pulling them today. I'm going to pull everything off, get this all out of the way, get the case off, and see what everything looks like. But judging by how this engine looks on the top, it looks like this thing was taken care of. I know these injectors were replaced. You do not have to pull the injectors to do this. You just have to pull the injector harness. And don't be afraid to pull these bolts out. When you take these out, it's just going to close the valve. So you're not going to have any problems there. Just make sure they all go back in where they're supposed to. And when you are done with this, do a valve adjustment. I don't care if you don't have to. You don't have to do a valve adjustment, but do it anyway because it doesn't hurt to. Now, I know I've already done a valve adjustment on this truck, but I'm going to be doing another valve adjustment because to pull these rockers off and then put them all back on, I'm not going to sit here and half-ass it. He's getting a valve adjustment. It's in the quote, so. The goal here was to get the shroud off, but somebody put a, let's see if we can see this together. Somebody put a stripped Allen head bolt in there, and mind you, I have all the Allens in the world, and that fucker's stripped and it's in there. That's the last bolt I need, and then the shroud can come off, and then I can get the lower rad hose while the shroud's off, and then I can pull the rad. That's generally how I do it. Not now. Let's see if we can get that bolt out. All right, so got the rest of the front stuff off. Unfortunately, lower rad hose, not savable. This thing is extremely stuck on here. Usually that doesn't happen, but being in the rust belt, it can happen. I also see a pin down there, so we're just gonna break out the kit, figure out what bolt sizes they are, and get this thing pulled up. All right, so we got the damper off. It has a dowel in it. That was fun. I grabbed out the wrong kit to show you guys earlier. So this guy wouldn't even do it. It was off. All the angles were off. So we just had the ratchet strap method. One on one side, one on the other. Pull it, and then kind of twist and pull and this and that. I'm gonna clear that pin off as best as possible. That front main is definitely leaking. Oil pan definitely leaking. We're gonna pull the pump to the side. I'm gonna pull this off and I'll show you guys what we're looking at. All right, it's been a while since we had a commercial break. You guys can see up in there all the tappets. So you basically have to pull those off. You can see there was a big leak up here. 2 of the bolts were loose up top. Not that the 2 are gonna make a difference. We put the crank in TDC. You don't wanna mess that up because if you do, I've seen guys off a tooth. This one actually has straight cut gears where a lot of them have angle cut. So keep that in mind. There's also differences between the oil pumps and this and that. So there's all the dowels. You don't want to hit these while, you just don't touch any of them while this is out. So what I'm going to do, because our parts won't be here for this thing until tomorrow night, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get everything pulled off and cleaned off today. That way we're also doing the AC as well. So we're going to be replacing, you see that clutch there is, that spins fine, but this guy here is all locked up. So we're going to be replacing the orifice tube right in here. We're going to be replacing, and we're going to be replacing the AC compressor. So once I get this off, I'm going to slide the cam back in just to, you know, keep it in place in case anything wants to fall. Actually, I mean, not that it matters, but I need to get this off. Keep in mind, this will be stuck to the oil pan, so I try to get a razor blade in here to kind of separate it because I want all of the gasket to stay on. Now, we are going to be coming back and doing the oil pan and the rear main on this thing at some point. So probably do both of those together while the trans is out. It makes it so much easier. That way you don't actually have to pick up the motor. So I'm going to quote those 2 jobs together. But this is pretty much where we're at. So I'm going to get the rest of this off camera. So we got everything cleaned off. You guys need to be really careful with how much silicone y'all are using. Like there was chunks of this just chilling on the inside right here. So I'm doing my best to get everything out that I possibly can. We're going to get these surfaces. I already started cleaning up over here. We're going to do the same over here, get some Scotch-Brite on there, clean that all up. And then I'm actually, yeah, this is also the time to be doing this because it's fucking right there. Other than that, yeah, CP3 goes with the case. We'll get this guy cleaned up, make this thing look brand new. So yeah, This, I think, is where I'm going to call it for you guys on this video, and then we will do the part 2 coming back where we put everything back together. Now, I know some of you guys might be upset that I break these things into parts. Keep in mind, just trying to get content out for you guys. If you want to watch the part 2, if you don't want to watch the part 2, it doesn't really matter. I could go out here and put out a 40-minute video. 1, it's going to hurt my analytics. 2, it's going to make it that it's like a lot of people aren't going to click on a 40-minute video. So we'll break it in 2 parts. So you're going to get the part today, and then you're going to get another part once it's done and running down the road. And then once he comes back for, oh God, the lighting is awful over there. Once he comes back for the oil pan rear main, we'll do that as well. Keep in mind, this truck came from Maryland. So this is a truck that he made the drive, I think it was like an hour and a half, up to have me fix it. So I'm gonna make sure that he gets a good truck back, clean truck, everything's taken care of. I can't film the other way because the lighting is just awful on my camera. So if you guys are interested in diesel repair in Carlisle, Pennsylvania, the more work I get, the more videos I can do on this stuff. There are stuff that I don't film, but keep in mind, if we keep the shop busy, I don't have to go out and run hotshot. And also my way of giving back to you guys for allowing me to do this pretty much for a living with very minimal advertising is I keep my shop rate low, $95 an hour. Now we do charge for shop supplies and a couple other little odds and ends here, but shop rate's $95 an hour. If I mean, that's pretty cheap in my opinion. And then everything by the books is pretty much flat rate. I have a typical how long it takes me to do specific jobs. Everything I do has a specific flat rate. So I know what I charge for pretty much most of this stuff. Some things might be higher than other shops. Some things might be lower than other shops. Just keep that in mind. I'll never sell you guys something you don't need, but keep that in mind. We are, we're out here in Carlisle, Pennsylvania. And we're actually the rest of the week. Once this thing's done tomorrow, we have a free and clear schedule. So I appreciate you guys. See you in the next video. Take care. Later.